Welcome to NTD News, I'm Paul Greeny. Here are today's top stories. The House overwhelmingly passed a bill condemning Chinese interference in Hong Kong's affairs. The bill also supports the rights of pro-democracy protesters and has been introduced 4 times since 2014. A Texas Supreme Court has struck down an Obama-era transgender mandate. The regulation forced doctors to perform dangerous gender transition surgeries. Find out the fun behind the lawsuit. And thousands of protesters took to the streets in Barcelona over Spain's Supreme Court ruling. Violent clashes between protesters and police. See what demonstrators are protesting. And NASA unveiled new spacesuits today for the upcoming moon mission. The 2 new spacesuits will fit anyone as NASA plans to land humans on the moon again by 2024. The House unanimously passed a bill by voice vote today condemning Chinese interference in Hong Kong's affairs and supporting the rights of pro-democracy protesters to demonstrate.
Congressman Chris Smith has introduced the Hong Kong Human Rights and Democracy Act 4 times since 2014, and he's the primary sponsor of H.R. 289. Today, the bill had a vote on the floor of the House of Representatives.
During the 2014 umbrella movement, the world saw the courageous people of Hong Kong demanding that Beijing not renege on promises made to ensure universal suffrage, basic rights, and authentic elections in 2017. Our new bill, the Hong Kong Human Rights and Democracy Act, is a blueprint for meaningful action. I heard it said that the business of Hong Kong is business. It is that, but it's also clear to me now that the business of Hong Kong is freedom and democracy.
The bill has bipartisan support, including from House Speaker Nancy Pelosi.
In Congress, Democrats and Republicans in the House and in the Senate stand united with the people of Hong Kong. If America does not speak out for human rights in China because of commercial interest, then we lose all moral authority to speak out for human rights any place in the world.
The bill would require Washington to evaluate the state of autonomy in Hong Kong every year. The bill would also impose penalties on Hong Kong and mainland Chinese officials who infringe on the basic freedoms in the city. The penalties include freezing their U.S.-based assets and being denied entry into the United States. It would also allow for Hong Kong protesters to obtain visas to work or study, even if they've been arrested for nonviolent crimes related to the protests.
In Hong Kong, citizens held a rally at a basketball court, expressing gratitude to those in the NBA who have shown support for the ongoing protests. NTD's Jeremy Sandberg reports.
In the pouring rain, Hong Kongers chanted slogans and held signs, thanking NBA fans and officials for supporting their fight for liberty.
We are fighting for democracy and freedom, who the U.S. citizens or the civilians are enjoying, and we hope that by fighting against tyranny, that one day we will have freedom and democracy here in Hong Kong.
Protesters at the rally hope the global community will take notice of the situation in Hong Kong and the evils of communism.
Even more severe oppression is happening in different parts of China, including Xinjiang, including Tibet, and even for Taiwan, who is trying to fight for their global position in the world, that they are still under the threat of the attack from the CCP. So, I mean, it's not just Hong Kong, it's the global fight against the tyranny.
Protests have reached the 4-month mark, with citizens determined to keep going until their concerns are addressed by the government.
We don't need to do a lot to keep the fire, keep our spirit, because it's win or die, win or die. We have no choice. We need to do this.
There's no way out. If we don't fight right now, we never get another chance to fight. That's the only thing we can do. We can come out, we can speak, we can do our right thing. That's our right, that's our human right, that's our right. That's not China yet. Here's not China yet, this is Hong Kong.
What started as opposition to a controversial extradition bill that would allow people to be sent to mainland China for trial has evolved into a push for greater democratic freedom and police accountability.
Carrie Lam, she's the one started off to tell us, like, China and the Hong Kong government is not going to fulfill everything that we want. So, they're going to make a change. It's going to be one country, no system.
The Hong Kong government has done little to respond to the voices of its citizens, defending police brutality and mass arrests under pressure from Beijing.
We do not listen to whatever the Hong Kong government says. Like, we will not trust a liar. She is a big liar. China is a big liar.
Rain or shine, citizens are coming up with new and creative ways to speak out and keep their spirits up. Jeremy Sandberg, NTD News, Hong Kong.
After a surprising comeback season, the St. Louis Blues hockey team celebrated their Stanley Cup victory at the White House today. NTD's Holly Kellum has more on that, plus the team's good luck charm.
You were true underdogs midway through the season. The Blues were ranked last in the NHL. I can't believe that.
Their victory, something of a miracle. This is the first time the Blues have won the Stanley Cup in their 52-year history. Head coach Craig Berube said it was the result of good teamwork.
These guys all came together as a team and played for each other, and we ended up being champions.
But a little luck from their superfan, 11-year-old Layla Anderson, may have helped.
So you all know Layla. Layla is a bigger celebrity than our two senators.
Last year, Layla was visited by Blues teammates in the hospital as she battled a rare life-threatening immune disease called HLH. Despite the trophy, Berube says the pressure hasn't let up.
Now the pressure's off because you've done it, so there's a lot less pressure.
Well, I don't know about that.
Holly Kellum, NTD News.
12 Democratic presidential candidates will take the debate stage in Ohio tonight. This amid a House Democrat-led impeachment inquiry, an attack on Syria by Turkey, and an investigation into Hunter Biden's dealings in Ukraine. Here's what to watch out for.
With a number of polls now showing that Senator Elizabeth Warren has effectively caught or even surpassed Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders for second place, Warren will be walking into the debate with confidence. But the center of the stage is often the focus of the most direct attacks. Warren's opponents have already begun to take aim at her candidacy, and spectators are eager to see whether the Sanders-Warren non-aggression pact will hold up. Meanwhile, Joe Biden may be on the stage tonight, but his son, whose dealings with a Ukrainian gas company recently under scrutiny, could also be under the spotlight. Also under inspection, Sanders is returning to the debate stage for his first major outing since suffering a heart attack last month. Tonight, the 78-year-old will be carrying the added weight of trying to convince voters that he's physically up for what lies ahead. Only 8 on-stage candidates have so far qualified for the November debate in Georgia, leaving Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar, former Congressman Beto O'Rourke, former Housing and Urban Development Secretary Julian Castro, and Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard to face the real possibility that Tuesday's debate will be their last.
Hunter Biden, the son of Joe Biden, is stepping down from a Chinese company after President Trump accused him of taking money from China. Biden said in an interview with ABC today that he didn't take a cent from China, but admitted poor judgment for joining the company. NTD's Penny Joe has more.
Biden denied any wrongdoing and said he did not want to be a distraction for his father's campaign. The controversy revolved around the Chinese private equity firm BHR, where Hunter Biden serves as a board member and owns a 10% stake worth $430,000. His position at BHR comes under scrutiny because of the company's close ties with the Chinese regime. Other than Biden's company, BHR has several other owners, including this company, owned by some of the biggest state-owned financial institutes in China. BHR has also made an acquisition that raised the eyebrows of U.S. lawmakers. In 2015, the firm partnered with a Chinese Communist Party-owned aviation company in order to acquire the U.S. automobile company Henniges. The U.S. Senate Finance Committee has questioned whether Henniges' technology could be put to military use, and the Chinese aviation company has allegedly stolen U.S. technology before to make fighter aircraft. BHR has also invested in a Chinese company that is now on the blacklist of the Trump administration. The administration alleged the company was contributing to human rights abuses in China, including helping the Chinese regime to monitor Muslim and other minority populations in Xinjiang. Reporting by Penny Joe, NTD News.
And today, a Texas Supreme Court struck down an Obama-era regulation that forced doctors to perform gender transition surgeries. NTD's Miguel Moreno has more on the nationwide policy change.
Beckett Fun headed the lawsuit and called the Texas judge's ruling a victory for the conscience rights of doctors. Under the transgender mandate, doctors, regardless of their religious beliefs and medical judgment, would be forced to provide potentially dangerous gender transition surgeries. If they didn't, they risked losing their jobs.
Today's ruling is huge because the regulation at issue applies to virtually every doctor and hospital in the country.
Doctors would also be made to operate on children, but according to data collected by Beckett, 94% of children grow out of gender dysphoria.
And there are multiple studies showing that some of these transgender medical procedures can actually cause harm. So the doctors in these cases are saying, don't force us to violate the Hippocratic Oath. We want to serve patients and we want to do no harm.
People seeking gender transition services will still be able to receive them from willing doctors. Miguel Moreno, NTD News.
State and local governments across the nation, including New York, are taking steps to crack down on e-cigarettes and vaping.
Elected officials and advocacy groups gather in front of New York City Hall on Tuesday, pushing legislation to ban the sale of all flavored e-cigarettes and menthol cigarettes.
We have a public health crisis that we have to address by limiting access to these very dangerous products.
Health officials are worried as the numbers of youth use skyrocketed with flavors such as cotton candy and bubble gum targeting teenagers.
So making these products less accessible will help to protect our young people so that they never see this as something that they should or could be doing.
According to a new FDA survey, nationwide e-cigarette use by high school students jumped by 78% between 2017 and 2018, and rates of e-cigarette use by middle school students increased by 48% during the same period.
It's packaged like pens or USB cords or many other things that can be like an everyday tool, so you would not second guess it.
When you do hang out, you're with a group of friends, everybody's together, they're passing it around. I've been told that it's either easier or it harms you less than cigarettes does.
Since mid-August, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and state agencies have reported 1,299 lung injury cases and 29 deaths linked to vaping. However, the research into these devices is just starting to evolve, and long-term impacts are unclear.
No one knows. That's the problem. We can't let our kids become a generation of guinea pigs or lab rats for, these tobacco companies.
Nationwide, the Trump administration is planning a national ban on youth-friendly flavored e-cigarettes from the market. States including Michigan, New York, Massachusetts, and a number of others have already enacted vaping bans while facing some backlash from the vaping industry. Worldwide, India, which has the world's second-largest population of adult smokers, last month announced a ban on the sale of e-cigarettes, citing concerns about the cases in the U.S. And Malaysia, which has banned the sale of vape liquids containing nicotine since 2015, is now considering a total e-cigarette sales ban. Reporting by Sydney Wong, NTD News, New York.
Up next, thousands of protesters took to the streets in Barcelona over Spain's Supreme Court ruling, with violent clashes between protesters and police. See what demonstrators are protesting. That and more after the break.
When you look at TV networks in America, a soundbite and fight-it-out culture prevails on news and commentary programs. As a Canadian, I'm fascinated with America, and I wanted to offer American thought leaders an opportunity to share their thoughts in a deep dive format, where we can explore their ideas together. And so American Thought Leaders was born. The world's most brilliant thinkers believed that open discourse was the key to greatness. However, all around the world, we see that discourse is being stifled, and political agendas have subverted media. The Epoch Times launched its Global Thought Leaders program to bring back this great tradition of free thought. As the host of American Thought Leaders, every week I interview some of the most intriguing minds on the most pressing issues of our time. Be sure to check out our new episodes every week.
Thousands of demonstrators took to the streets of Barcelona in a second day of protests over Spain's Supreme Court ruling.
On Monday, Spain's Supreme Court sentenced 9 Catalan separatist leaders to up to 13 years behind bars for illegally promoting Catalonian independence in 2017. The decision has triggered mass protests in the region. Pro-independence leaders vowed to keep pushing for a new referendum, while some protesters took to the streets, throwing cans and flares at riot police. Some also tried to kick down security barriers set up around the Spanish government headquarters in the center of the city. Police and protesters clashed, with police charging demonstrators with batons on several occasions, even tackling some to the ground. Earlier in the day, police removed protesters blocking several motorways and a train station in the region.
More than 400 prisoners convicted of terrorism-related charges are set to be released from French jails this year. NTD's David Vives has more on why they're being released.
At least 1,700 prisoners who have been radicalized or who committed acts of terrorism reside in France's prisons. That's according to France's Minister of Justice, who said about 500 were convicted of crimes relating to terrorism and 1,200 who were radicalized prisoners, according to French intelligence. What will happen to these prisoners? According to the think tank Institute for Justice, the majority will eventually be released. You have hundreds of radicalized inmates who get out of prison every year, and of course the intelligence services are unable to track them down. That's impossible. French Justice Minister Nicole Belloubet said around 450 prisoners convicted of terrorism or radicalized acts are expected to be released this year. In the majority of cases, it's because they have served their time. And their time, according to French think tank Center for Terrorism Analysis, was on average 8.5 years between 2014 and 2017. Francois, a prison guard who works in central France, said he was concerned about those who were being released. He requested his last name be withheld for security reasons. Jihadists are new generation of prisoners. When they are admitted, a large number of prisoners will follow them. Those prisoners have no respect, no limits. They know how to take advantage of the justice system. They know they will be released at some point, and it's very possible they will kill again once they are released. In March, after 2 radicalized prisoners severely wounded 2 prison guards in northwest France, the Minister of Justice announced a plan to create 1,500 areas inside prisons to keep radicalized prisoners away from other inmates. Reporting by David Vives, NTD News.
A Geneva-bound Swiss jet diverted to Paris today after an engine problem. This prompted the airline to ground the rest of its A220 fleet. Engine maker Pratt & Whitney then recommended engine checks on Airbus A220 aircraft and some Embraer jets.
French air accident investigators classify the problem that disrupted the Swiss flight shortly after departure from London Heathrow as a serious incident and said it would be investigated by the U.S. National Transportation Safety Board. Swiss, owned by Germany's Lufthansa, said it had grounded its fleet of 29 Airbus A220 jets for review of their engines. The diversion is the latest in a series of technical glitches involving new generation geared turbofan engines from Pratt & Whitney, part of United Technologies. A spokesman for the engine maker said it was recommending additional fleet-wide checks for versions of the engine that power the Airbus A220, an engine known as the PW1500G, and the upgraded Embraer 190/195-E2.
Up next, what happens to your hotel soap after you check out? That and more after the break.
Our investigative reporters at the Epoch Times have spent 18 months uncovering the biggest political scandal in modern history. We connected the dots around Spygate, the actions by Obama-era officials against Trump's 2016 presidential campaign. Join me on Declassified as we bring you up-to-date developments on this unfolding scandal.
Have you ever wondered what happens to the used soap you leave in a hotel room after checking out? One frequent business traveler did and decided to dig deeper. NTD's Sherwin Rong has the story.
Get shipped to one of our facilities.
Sean Seipler had the heart to change the world, and he did, with a bar of soap.
Figured if all hotels were throwing their soaps away around the world, we were throwing away more than 2 million bars of soap every single day. So that struck me.
Sean was the vice president of a global technology company. Seeing all this waste, he was determined to do something.
When we realized that there were 9,000 children under the age of 5 dying every single day to hygiene-related illnesses. And if we just gave them soap and taught them how and when to wash their hands, that we could cut those deaths in half.
Knowing this, and with the help from his 8 family members, Sean started scraping soap with potato peelers, cooking it, grinding it, and reforming it into new bars of soap. All in a single car garage 10 years ago.
We would go knock on the doors of hotels around Orlando and ask them to take their soaps and their bottled amenities.
With one mission in mind.
We were going to save millions of children's lives around the world.
In July 2009, he made his first international trip to Haiti, where he saw the impact they made on those families, which motivated him to continue his work.
We've impacted the lives of 10 million people around the world. We've diverted 20 million pounds of waste. In that 10 years, the death rate, the children under the age of 5 dying to hygiene-related illnesses, has reduced by 60%.
Now, as recycling centers in the United States and Hong Kong, the nonprofit corporation has partnered with 8,000 hotels across the globe and recycles waste for almost 500,000 hotel rooms on a daily basis.
But we've always been grounded in the mission and in the result of what we're doing, and I think that's helped us get through some of those tougher times.
Today, in honor of the approaching National Handwashing Awareness Week, Hilton Garden Inn in Hampton by Hilton announced its plan to expand its partnership with Seipler's organization, Clean the World. Next time you check out of a hotel, spare a thought for the barely touched bar of soap left behind in your room. It could just be on its way to save a life. Reporting by Xuan Rong, NTD News, New York.
NASA unveiled 2 new spacesuits designed for the Space Agency's Artemis moon mission, which aims to take Americans back to the moon by 2024.
We, as the Artemis generation, are building spacesuits that will fit all of our astronauts. We want every person who dreams of going into space to be able to say to themselves that, yes, they have that opportunity.
The administrator of NASA announcing the spacesuits on stage. One of the spacesuits, called XEMU, will be worn by astronauts while exploring the surface of the moon's south pole, while the second spacesuit is designed to be worn during the launch to the moon and re-entry into Earth's atmosphere.
This suit is the Orion Crew Survival Suit, and so while the mission of that suit is to what we do when we're there, this is the suit that gets us there and gets us home safely.
Both suits are designed for improved mobility and comfort.
So to be clear, Christine is wearing a spacesuit that will fit all of our astronauts when we go to the moon.
Vice President Mike Pence ordered NASA to land humans on the lunar surface by 2024, accelerating a goal to colonize the moon as a staging ground for eventual missions to Mars.
Google unveiled the new Pixel smartphone in New York today, but can it compete with others on the market?
The new Pixel smartphones feature higher quality cameras, a radar sensor, and faster virtual assistant.
The new Pixel comes in 3 colors: just black, clearly white, and a limited edition called Oh So Orange.
The new phones also feature a 2x telephoto lens and super res zoom technology.
Here's an example. You probably think this is a 1x photo. It's not. It's a zoom taken from way back here.
A new feature based on radar technology enables users to skip songs or issue other commands by waving their hands above the screen. The Pixel 4 ranges in price from $799 to $899, depending on screen sizes. For the first time, all 4 major U.S. wireless carriers are selling the product. Despite the new features, the Pixel 4 failed to provide enough to set it apart from rivals and has gained little traction versus those of industry leaders like Samsung and Apple. Google also announced its new Pixelbook.
Pixelbook Go is lighter than Pixelbook, but we still managed to add a battery that is 15% larger, making it easier to keep working all day.
And Google also announced Pixel Buds, a set of wireless earbuds with hands-free access to Google Assistant, launching next spring in the U.S. for $179.
Up next, a new state record. One pumpkin is declared the heaviest in World Championship pumpkin weigh-offs. Find out the grower's secret to raising the record-setting pumpkin. That and more after the break.
The lasting beauty of traditional oil painting. Realistic style. Brilliant. Moving. Expressive. 2019 NTD Television International Competition for Figure Painting in Oil. Guided by truthfulness, kindness, and beauty. We invite you to join us on our journey back to traditional art. Gold Prize Award of $10,000. For more detail, please visit oilpainting.ntdtv.com.
What grows together goes together. A California man has won this year's Safeway World Championship pumpkin weigh-off. His son-in-law took second place. NTD's Eiling Eng has their secret to success.
Is the last pumpkin of the day, folks.
On Monday, a new state record was set. At 2,175 pounds, the enormous pumpkin Leonardo Urena from Napa brought in was declared the heaviest. It broke the previous record for the heaviest pumpkin from California by about 37 pounds. For every pound of the pumpkin, the first place winner received $7. Urena received a check for over $15,000 and a green jacket that says 2019 Grand Champion Grower. He started growing it as a seed in April. It gained an average of 25 pounds per day. The secret to getting such a size:
try to apply organic fertilizers to grow giant pumpkins is important, because if you grow organically, they can make it all the way to the end.
He grows it in the open field in a Napa ranch with rich soil and abundant water, which he says are the perfect conditions for growing these giant gourds. His son-in-law, also from Napa, took second place. He said it's hard work to get them to that size.
500 gallons a day for 5 pumpkins. Yes, a lot of water.
Both are veteran giant pumpkin growers. What do they plan to do with the pumpkins now?
I'm going to sell a winery in Napa for exhibition. People can see the pumpkin every day if you're going to tasting rooms.
We're going to rent it or lease it to a restaurant, and then after Thanksgiving, we collect the seeds and dry them and pack them and send them to other growers, because we trade seeds with other growers around the world, and that's what we've been getting the best genetics in this sport.
There is certainly a magic of the pumpkin that I think just brings a smile to everyone's face. So, who doesn't love pumpkins?
The top winners will have their pumpkins displayed here in Half Moon Bay at the Pumpkin Festival next week. Eileen Ng, NTD News, Half Moon Bay, California.
And that's all for today's NTD News. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Paul Greaney.